Hello, good evening, or good morning, good afternoon, depending on at what time of the day you are watching this. So, I am creating this vlog as a part of the course requirement Indian Economy and Policy. I am doing an MBA in IM Trichy. So, this vlog is created as a part of this particular course. So, in this vlog, I am going to talk about fiscal deficit. Recently in the news articles, we came across a news wherein India has already exhausted 60% of the planned deficit. So, what is the implication of this? I'm just trying to discuss a little bit about that in this vlog. So, this is a textbook that we are using in our course. I'll be taking some excerpts from the book to discuss through this. So, what are the adverse effects of fiscal deficit? So, the primary problem is once the debt of the government it goes beyond a limit, investors will sort of become a bit averse to invest in this country, and at a macroeconomic level, on a long term basis, it will also lead to a vicious cycle, and so that is what is called as debt dynamics. In the textbook, this particular term is used to describe the sort of ripple effect of what will happen if you don't bring the fiscal deficit in control. So, how does the government borrow? So, these are the three sources from which the government can borrow. So, the first one is the foreign investors, the second one is the domestic households, I mean indirectly that will happen through the banking system, and the third one is through the monetary system. I mean the government can always bring the RBI in control and ask them to print more money, but it will obviously have other implications. The rupee will become weak and things like that. Yeah, so on the debt dynamics, we define a new term called the debt to the GDP ratio. So, given the debt of a country, let D be the debt of the country, and Y be the GDP of the country. So, we define B as the proportion of D to Y. So, obviously, it is better to have a lower value of B as much as possible. The thing is, if you have a lower value of B, it means that a country is solvent. I mean, it will be able to meet its debt requirements. So, whatever it has borrowed externally or internally, it will be able to meet its demand. So, that is what B means. So, what we are really interested in this vlog is about the growth rate of B. So, given the debt is growing at a let's use a notation primes to indicate the rate at which the parameters are growing. So, assuming the debt grows at D prime and the GDP grows at Y prime. So, the growth rate of B can be indicated as D prime minus Y prime. So, the D prime is a growth rate of debt. It consists of basically two components. The first component is a primary deficit, which is the borrowings the government has made to meet the current cycle requirements. The second thing is for whatever is already borrowed, even that should be paid with an interest rate of R. So, in case if the government has already if it has already incurred a debt of D, then it has to pay at a rate of R. It has to pay back RD to to whoever the government has borrowed. So, given this, B prime can be written as RD plus P over D minus Y prime. So, Y prime we'll use a notation G. This is not same as Y equal to C plus G plus I plus X minus M that we have in the GDP equation. So, here G means the growth rate of the GDP. So, this is one of the most interesting equations. So, given given that B prime is R plus P over D minus G, we will try to break this let us use a new notation called rho for the proportion of primary deficit as a part of the GDP. Suppose if we rewrite P over D as rho over B, so this is what we ultimately get. So this is the crux of the vlog. So what happens if the government should bring the fiscal deficit under control? Let us say that it doesn't want to see any growth on B, and if it has to maintain